Well, I'd just like to give a very brief piece of background on this issue. Last fall, the board's financial oversight process detected a concern with cash on hand at the University of Arizona. The university's cash balance had dipped below the rate recommended by Moody's. I want to be clear. We found it on our watch. We will address it on our watch. We are taking this extremely seriously and with a sense of urgency. With that urgency, we asked the President to provide us a remediation plan in December, and we also adopted financial oversight enhancements and expectations for all three universities to guide financial processes and board governance to give us the tools that this would never happen again. Given his vast experience in budgeting, we asked Executive Director of ABOR, John Arnold, to assume his role as the Interim Chief Financial Officer at the University of Arizona. Earlier this month, Moody's Investors Service deemed that the board's rapid and disciplined response, in quotes, as credit positive, indicating a vote of confidence that we're on the right track. So far, so good. The University of Arizona had $700 million cash on hand on January 1st, has about $900 million cash on hand today. It is a strong university with world-class teaching and research and brilliant students. We have a bright future. But let's also be clear that the cost curve is unsustainable. These numbers will go lower. Absent change, we will get into trouble. So we must act, and we're going to make changes at the University of Arizona that will be far-reaching. We must centralize budgeting, and every department on campus must be accountable for a budget. But everything we do will be in service of our primary obligation to students and to assure the long-term success of this institution. We will hear from John that there were a variety of causes that brought us to this place, but most stemming from a decentralized and unaccountable budget unit process. I also want to address two urban myths and say this clearly. First, there are no dollars missing. These were investments strategically made, but which we could not afford. And second, this was not caused by the acquisition of UAGC. UAGC did not drive the budget shortfall, and articles to the contrary are simply wrong. With that, John, I turn it over to you for your report, and I thank you for your work on this matter.
Thank you, sir. And certainly agree and echo everything Regent Duval said. And thank you, President Robbins, for the invitation to come down to the university and help out. I've enjoyed being down on campus very, very much. It's a very exciting place to be, and the university to date has been welcoming and 100% cooperative. Just there is everyone there that I've encountered so far, from the president on down, recognizes that there are issues there, but they love the university and they want to address and fix these issues as quickly as possible. What I want to do today is just go a little bit over, provide an overview of what we've been doing to date, and give a little preview of what's coming. Regent Duval hit some of the myths that I wanted to attack, but we'll attack them again just because we want to nail that down. So I have a little thing here. It works. So process to date, as Regent Duval noted, the board and the university became aware that they had overspent their budget in fiscal 23 late last fall. The immediate first steps we needed to do was to slow spending, and President Robbins presented a plan in December that we have fully implemented. That plan included a hiring freeze, procurement restrictions, travel restrictions, and some other steps that we've put in place that we believe will slow spending over the next 6 months. That's going to give us a little time to really dig in and define the scope and nature of the problem that the university is facing. The last thing I want to do is implement a series of solution sets for a problem that we misdiagnose. President Robbins is a physician, and I think he knows well the first step is to diagnose the problem before you start giving out the medicine and
surgery.
Yeah, or start cutting things off. We're going to be very, very careful about this, and really go through a careful process to really define the scope and nature of the problem that we're facing. we're in that process right now, and I think in the next few days we'll be in a position to really talk about the issues that we're facing and then the immediate steps. The next is to develop solution sets. And on the slide it says develop solution set 18 to 36 months. I don't mean we're developing a solution set within 18 to 36 months, but I do believe it will take 18 to 36 months to implement solution sets. As Regent Duval noted, one of the issues at the university is widespread decentralization. They've operated under a model which is common in a lot of universities to leave a lot of decision authority at a very low level. And so you've seen administrative structures build up around that decision authority, which makes sense, but it adds to bureaucracy, it adds duplication, and in many ways it adds to cost. And so we're going to have to go in and assess that and change that structure, and that's going to take some time to really get our arms around that. Luckily, the university is in a financial position where we have the time to do that. As Regent Duval noted, the university started the year with over $700 million in the bank. But we're on a cost trajectory that is alarming, and so we need to change that cost trajectory, but we have time to do it. And then ultimately we'll have to implement a new budget model. The university has used really it's a resource allocation model in lieu of a budget model over the last 10 years or so. And there's reasons why they do that. It incentivizes certain behaviors that are positive and healthy, but it also incentivizes certain behaviors that aren't positive and healthy. Regent Herbold sent me just a terrific article that he wrote a few days ago about how to go into an organization and instill fiscal discipline without destroying the good aspects of the culture that's in that organization. And there's a lot of terrific, wonderful culture at the University of Arizona that is entrepreneurial and discovery oriented, and we want to be able to retain those beautiful things about the university while instilling some fiscal discipline so we can have this and actually enhance what this is. Building a budget model to do that, we're looking at various universities and other large entities to look at what those budget models might be, and it may be something that needs to be continually managed and tweaked over time. Every budget model is going to have incentives in it, and some incentives that are positive, but also some perverse incentives, and those are going to have to be carefully managed as we move forward. So that's where we're at in the process. As I said, I'm working closely with the president and the board to nail down the final steps of that, define the scope and nature of the problem, and then we'll be rolling that out in the next several days. So getting back to some of the myths, so it was widely reported that the university lost $240 million in fiscal 2023. And I understand where some of that came from, but that was not correct. In some ways, it was reported almost as a mystical event that a ferry came in and poofed away $240 million. The university started fiscal 23 with $844 million in the bank. They ended with $704 million, so a reduction of $140 million. That was the overspend in fiscal 23. I've asked our team to reconcile that number, and so we've broken it down exactly what happened. It's some ongoing events, some one-time events, and we'll be sharing that information again in the next few days. Impact of UAGC, a lot of speculation about how UAGC merging with University of Arizona's acquisition of UAGC, is a better term, really impacted these finances. So UAGC became an asset of the University of Arizona on June 30th of 2023. So all the expenditures of UAGC were not University of Arizona expenditures in 2023. no negative impact on University of Arizona's spending in fiscal '23. And in fact, in reverse, when the University of Arizona acquired UAGC, they had $47 million in cash on hand. That cash came into the coffers of the university, actually bolstering the cash that the university had. So that's $704 million we talked about. 47 million of that was acquired on June 30th when the university acquired UAGC. This year they are operating as a unit of the university. In November, so they put out a budget in July. It was reported to the board in November. I spoke to the CFO that put that budget together that works for UAGC. And she said they came in with a conservative estimate. It showed about an $18 million operating loss in fiscal '24. They have been able to turn that number around through a number of steps. One, the hiring freeze has helped them save some dollars. They've also realized some savings as we go through the merger process between UAGC and the University of Arizona. As you can imagine, there's a lot of duplication there, and as we merge together, we're able to eliminate positions and combine duty sets, and they've saved some money on that front. They've also saved some money. They've gained efficiencies in their enrollment process that has saved some dollars. The other thing they've done, their overall head count is down. Their student mix is actually improved. So they have more graduate students than undergraduate students, which has bolstered revenues. At the same time, costs have gone down because of the reduction in students. And so that dropped that cash impact from the $18 million to about $2.4 million. Again, I spoke with the CFO yesterday. They believe they can bring that to zero by the end of this fiscal year. They think they can capture that remaining $2.4 million. But right now, we're carrying $2.4 million to be on the safe side as a net negative from UAGC's operations. So yes, they have an overall budget, an operating budget's 265 this year, but they are generating sufficient revenue to cover that operating. By fiscal '25, we believe there will be a positive impact on the university as we continue to realize savings through that merger process. Forecast right now is 3.1 million. I believe that is conservative, and we will work to improve that number over the coming months, and also work to ensure that the UAGC experience for all of their students is the best possible experience it can be. It's really a terrific thing that these students are now University of Arizona students, and they're going to benefit from being part of that caliber of a university as we move forward. So very much looking forward to continuing our work on UAGC. And then finally, it's not just athletics. I apologize I didn't bring the number, but of the $140 million reduction in cash on hand last year, athletics was about 35 million of that. I have the specific number and I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. We can get that. We need it later. It's not just athletics. So of that 140, athletics was only 35. Athletics is operating at about a $30 million loss this year. But again, it's not just about athletics, and there's been a lot of noise in the media that those two are absolutely related. We're of course looking hard at athletics and what we can do to modernize that department, but ultimately the national model around college athletics has changed over the last 5 years. And as we modernize the University of Arizona's athletics department, I think there's going to have to be a broad community discussion about what do we want out of the University of Arizona's athletics. What do we want out of that experience? What products do we want to provide? And then be realistic about what are the costs to provide those products. We're going to make that as cost effective as possible. We're going to talk about revenue generation. But we're also going to have to be realistic about what is the cost of having a full-blown athletic department or whatever athletic department we decide moving forward. And I think that's it for today's update. As I said, more to come in the very near future. And again, just want to thank President Robbins and his whole leadership team for the warm welcome I've had down there, the complete and total cooperation, and look forward to continuing this work so we'll get our arms around this.
Great. John, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Lyndall.
Thank you. I have two questions, one comment, one question. As far as the athletics is concerned, yes, I absolutely agree that we need to make those decisions about what we provide, what the revenues are, what the costs are. But I want to make clear that U of A is not the only university in the country that is dealing with this scenario. This is widespread. Everybody is dealing with the same fundamental issues regarding the change, in the NCAA landscape and the new NIL and all of these other things that create instability in athletics at the moment.
And in addition to just the regulatory environment that's changed, the market's fundamentally changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the dollars that were potentially there from TV contracts and stuff that people predicted were going to be there, that market's changed. And we're still dealing with the upheavals in that market. And you're absolutely correct, Regent Manson. I think every athletic department outside of
Perhaps
maybe
the
a
SEC.
couple
Yeah.
in the southeastern portion of the United States are dealing with these kind of issues and are having these kinds of conversations. So it is not unique to the University of Arizona by any means.
The other item I had was a question related to the budget modeling, the projected implementation in fiscal year 2026. So that means that the new budget model will be used in kind of January of 2025 to establish budgets for 2026. That's a long time in days. So I guess what I want is some kind of assurances that we are not just business as usual, the way it's already, the way it's worked,
Yes.
for years between now and then.
So let me talk about that for just a second. And a terrific question, Mr. Chair and Regent Manson. So as I mentioned, the university's used 3 different budget models over the last decade. The last 2 were resource allocation models, not really budget models. And because they're resource allocation models, there's been, and what I mean by that is you look at the activity in each department, and that generates revenue that then comes to that department. How many credit hours did they teach? How much research they're doing, that kind of stuff. But in many ways, it's disconnected from cost. And so what we've seen widespread across the university is a disconnect between the actual cost of operating a school and the resources that are being allocated to that school. And so for fiscal 25, which starts on July 1st, and really for the rest of this year, the plan was let's slow spending, which we're doing on across the university basis. For fiscal 25, what I'd really like to do is reconnect resource allocation with cost, and then we can go in and dig out the costs we're going to have to dig out. But it gives us a grounded place when we get to 26 and put in a more predictive model that the university budget units can prepare and predict against and plan against. But for this upcoming year, we just need to reconnect resource allocation to cost, if that makes sense. It's too far apart at this point to really just come in and implement a new budget model. The other thing is I think it's going to take us a few months to really understand the incentives we want to pursue and design a system that people are comfortable with, what they understand, that they can really operate under. One of the things I'm finding, and it gets back to this article Regent Herbal wrote, there's not a consistency in information that is available to the budget units. And so we're gonna have to work through that and ensure there is a strong reporting structure, both from the budget units up to central, but also the other way around as well, so that they really understand how their budget models work and how to work within those budget models. And I think that's been part of the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you bet. Thank you, Regent Manson. Other questions or comments? Last thing I would just like to say before moving to the NAU football item is just to thank the president and John for the consultative way in which you're going through this. I mean, the U of A has a deep tradition in consultation and collaboration, and so the work with SPBEC and the Faculty Senate and the Recalibration Committee and sort of all of the folks who are thoughtful and committed to the university, I just want to commend you for the engagement that is taking place as we go through this process, which is to say that we also understand that speed is critical and to do both at the same time.